Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the David Rich Music Podcast, where we talk about the music industry's untold stories, the ones you don't see on Instagram, TikTok, etc. Today, I want to look into a really serious topic that's been on my mind for a while, many years, to be fair, and that's the consequences of fame and fortune, especially for young pop stars. Now, it's also very much in the headlines at present with the sad loss of yet another pop star, Liam Payne. It inspired me, if that's the right word to use, but I wrote and created the track Why We Die Young. Now, when I made the video and song lyrics, I researched and looked at the numbers who had achieved massive success in their early years and at the early demise of them. And it was a real eye opener, the number. It was staggering. But this was just in the music industry. Of course, it does affect other areas of the entertainment industry equally as bad. We've all seen the headlines, young artists who seem to have it all, but end up paying the ultimate price. So, why does this keep happening? I've actually more questions than answers in this podcast, but I've got my own thoughts. And while I haven't reached the same level of stardom as these mega famous pop idols, my time in the music industry has given me a front row seat, if you like, to the challenges that they face. Now, why do so many young pop stars suffer? That is the crux of it. Why? Now, let's talk about why so many of these do end up suffering under the weight of fame and fortune. Now, sure, achieving success is a dream to many, and it comes true for many of them. But what often gets overlooked is the heavy toll it can actually take on you. The question that always comes to mind for me is why? Why do these bright talents, adored by millions, end up in such dark places? Now, if you ask me, a big part of it comes down to being stuck in this glass bowl for the world to watch your every move. Now, once you're famous, it's like everyone thinks they know you, but really they only see a version of you that's carefully managed for public consumption. The pressure to keep up that image can be suffocating. Okay, I may not have achieved these levels as I've said, but I've seen many who've gone on to achieve success. And, we all think this must be wonderful, everybody recognizing you. But unless you've been in that situation, we can only surmise what it must be like. But it's not just the public eye, it's the whole machine behind the scenes. The music industry is driven by profit. Money. It's no different to any other business in that respect. I've run many businesses over the years, and the number one thing it seems to be driven by is money and profit. And the record labels, more often than not, prioritise their bottom line over the well-being of artists. All the ones that they sign. We've all heard the stories about stars being chewed up and spit out by the entertainment industry because it's all about money, no matter the personal cost to the young people caught in the middle. Now, I'm not saying everybody who is involved, just to put my little disclaimers in here, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, but my experiences in the industry, while I'm not here to claim I've been through the same exact struggles as those at the very top, I spent enough time in the industry to see the cracks in the system. I watch artists push to the limits, expected to keep up with relentless schedules that leave little room for anything other than work. Now, in our own lives, normal lives, if you want to put it that way, we all get pressures, but we can move away from it. But the glamorous image fades pretty fast when you're living on the record label treadmill, constantly told to produce more music, sell more tickets, and be on the all-time smiley face and everything. And look, I'm not the only one saying this. Artists themselves, both past and present, have been speaking up about how they've treated like commodities. There's lots of YouTube videos out there where they come out and speak about it. And I've listened to ones about how they've gone into dark places, some of the famous ones out there. You'll know them. They're given everything, but they want materially. They've got everything material, but not the support they need emotionally. This imbalance is often leads to tragic outcomes like addiction, mental health crisis, and in some cases even death. Now, the heavy price of fame and wealth, another piece of the puzzle, is the trade-off young artists make when they set out to achieve fame and wealth. You see, wealth, this is another aspect, and this is really through the business side of things. I've worked with many people over the years in different types of businesses, and ones that have incredible wealth. And one thing I've come to realize is, and everybody needs to realize this, that money is not the answer to happiness and fulfillment that we all, or many of us think it is. We see, everybody's pushed into doing the lottery and all these prize draws to make lots and lots of money. It is not the answer, I can assure you. But then when you put that with fame, what a disaster it becomes. See, a lot of them don't realize how much they're sacrificing, these pop stars, until they're in too deep. Once you're in this system, sure, the money and lifestyle might seem like the dream, but what happens when that dream becomes a nightmare? We all know the ones, we've seen them talking, but for many, the loss of privacy and control over their own lives becomes unbearable. Just think about it. How would you feel if every move was monitored, criticised, and dissected by millions of strangers? Now, I'm on a lot of the social media platforms and I get some horrible comments and criticism and things like this. I'm not bothered. I'm too old enough to bother about it. But I know this can really affect some people, some especially younger ones. And these are ones that aren't even famous. Multiply that by thousands for some of these pop stars. There's some vile comments that's thrown at them. It really is awful. The constant pressure to stay on top and keep up appearances as well. We all have our off days where we feel a bit rough, but if the media catch hold of one of these pop stars on an off day, they're terrible. They really do make these big stories up out of absolutely nothing. They're just having a bad day. We can all have them. It can drive even the strongest people to breaking point. Now, there's also the sad truth that the entertainment industry doesn't always care about what happens to these young stars once they're no longer profitable. And they disregard. You see them, the labels drop them. Once you're off the charts, it's easy to get tossed aside, leaving artists to cope with a mental, emotional, and even physical fallout on their own. Is change possible? Well, this is the thing. I saw something recently with Robbie Williams. I think he was asked this question, and he realizes that there's something. And Robbie himself went through, from what we've seen in the media, he went through his own challenges and talking about drugs and alcohol and everything else. But I would say it looks as though he's in a really good place now. I think that's great because, I think he's a great entertainer, and it's good to see that he's come out of it. And there's a lot like this. I mean, you look at Elton John. I mean, if you've seen the film, Elton John's film of his life story so far, the abuse that he put himself through, but this is the pressure that was under. Again, he's come out of this and he seems to be having a really good, enjoyable, loving life. And I think this is the key to it as well. I'm not saying it's the only answer, but I think if you've got people around you and you can find something that's really important to you, like a loving partner, husband, wife, and family, it can make things a lot better, a lot easier, if you like. I'm not saying it's the only answer, but the real question is, can things change? Is it possible to prevent more of these tragedies from happening? I mean, personally, I think it's going to take a serious shift in how the music industry itself operates. I don't think it's particularly changed over the years. It's always been driven by money. I think there's a few more things in there legally now, but artists need more support, not just financially, but mentally and emotionally. Record labels should have said, need to step up and take responsibility for the young people they sign, instead of treating them like disposable assets, because they are. They think, oh, you're going to be wonderful. Everybody likes to be told they're wonderful. When you're younger, you take it all in and believe everything. But it's not just about the labels. The fans too play a role in this. We need to stop this. How we idolise fame and fortune as the ultimate goals and recognise that people behind it are just that people. I mean, this has been happening for ages. I remember going back when you look back in the old black and whites of the Beatles arriving in America, the hysteria, the girls fainting. It it's got to have an effect on you. So I'm not saying you shouldn't get excited when you go and see your artist performing live. Well, the ones that still do perform live and not lip sync, which quite a lot of them do. That's another one, and that's I've got another podcast on that. Go and have a look at that one. That's up there now. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not invincible, and they shouldn't be expected to live up to impossible standards. So, we've got to play our own part as well. I mean, I remember years ago going to see Dinah Ross, and the crowds were diving out trying to grab hold of her, touch her. And I have to say, I was one of them. I was about that far off her thigh. But this is wrong. We cannot be like this. These are people, normal people. Dinah Ross, by the way, was fantastic, and I think she still is. She's an amazing singer and lady. But anyway, coming back to conclude on this about how the pop stars are affected. At the end of the day, fame and fortune might look the perfect life from the outside, but for many young pop stars, it comes with a heavy price. Whether it's addiction, mental health struggles, or simply the pressure of living in the spotlight. The dark side of stardom is real, and it's claiming far too many lives. But I don't know how it's going to be stopped, but we need to rethink how we treat young stars, both as an industry and as a culture. Real success isn't about wealth and popularity, it's about finding balance, taking care of your mental health, and living a life that feels true to who you are. Not just what the world wants you to be, but what you want to be. So I hope you found this interesting. If you have, that's great. I won't say about the like and all this lot. Everybody says that. It drives me mad. Or go over and Americanized with everything. But I hope you've found it a little bit interesting anyway. Have a look at the rest of them, and I shall see you in the future David Rich Music Podcast. Thanks. Take care for now. Bye bye.